Today's episode of the Our Hen House podcast is being sponsored by our partner, A Well-Fed World. A Well-Fed World is a hunger relief and animal protection organization chipping away at two of the world's most immense, unnecessary, and unconscionable forms of suffering. The suffering of people hungry from lack of food, and the suffering of animals used and abused for food. Mending our unjust food system is a critical part of solving the world's most destructive and persistent problems. Fortunately, the plant-based foods that promote health and well-being are the same foods that conserve resources to better feed the world while reducing greenhouse gas emissions and protecting the environment. A well-fed world provides the means for change by empowering individuals, social justice organizations, and political decision-makers to embrace the benefits of plant-based foods and farming. Learn more at awfw.org.
Our hen house is a squawking house. Our hen house is their hen house. Our hen house, ooh, it's a funky fresh house. Our hen house is your hen house.
Welcome to Our Hen House. This is Marianne Sullivan. I am super excited. I know I say that every week, but I really am excited about this week's show. We have two great interviews. First, I'm going to be talking to Ravi DeRossi. Ravi is a hugely successful New York City restaurant and bar owner who just happens to be taking all of his restaurants vegan. Yep. His story is amazing and moving. You're going to love it. I can't wait for you to hear it. And then Jasmine will be talking with PETA's Keith Burgeson, and he'll be telling you all about PETA's vegan mentor programs. This is such a brilliant idea. This program kind of empowers vegans to inspire others and actually offer not just inspiration, but actual help to people who want to go vegan but are having a hard time. And, sometimes when you've been vegan a long time, you forget that it was hard to make the change. Once you've made the change, being vegan is easy, but actually making that change can be difficult. So this program is brilliant, and this interview is going to inspire you. I absolutely promise that. So before we get to that, I just want to talk about this column I read the other day. It's by George Monbiot, the environmentalist who writes in The Guardian. And I thought its message was really compelling, and I wanted to share it, and I wanted to extend it a little to some of my thoughts. He writes more on the environmental side, and I want to talk, though he writes about animals too. But it really started me thinking. So he's talking about the language we use to talk about the natural world and how ridiculous it is, and how it just completely distances people rather than attracts people and excites people and engages people. And, he's talking about some really bad specific terms that environmentalists tend to use, such as sites of special scientific interest, or no-take zones, or reference areas. Those are really bad, but he's also talking about just more generally used terms such as reserves, and even the term the environment. Just using that term. So the title of the article is "Forget, quote, the environment, unquote. We need new words to convey life's wonders." And as I said, it really started me thinking. So he suggests that instead of calling, and the environment is this abstract kind of, but even though we're so used to using it, it's kind of a scientific word. And people tend to think of it as something optional. You can either be an environmentalist or not, like it's a choice. And so, which is ridiculous because we all kind of need it because it's where we live. And so his suggestions for what, when we usually use the term environment, is maybe the living planet, or maybe just the natural world, but something that will make people recognize that we're talking about home here. And so he also talks about the word extinction, and he mentions, it kind of sounds like an expiration, like animals just go extinct, as if it has nothing to do with us. And sometimes they have in the past, since the beginning of time, animals have gone extinct, and but that's not what's going on now. We're actually destroying species. They're not just going extinct on their own. And so he talks about the word ecocide as maybe a good choice there to make it clearer exactly what's going on here. One of his pet peeves is the term climate change, which sounds kind of benign. Sun's coming out, sun's going in, it's raining, whatever. So he suggests calling it climate breakdown. I've actually been using the term climate catastrophe recently, inspired by this article. So this really inspired me. I think it's crucial. We have to bring poetry to the way we speak about, not only about the environment or the natural world, there I go, but how we speak about animals. And I have to think about this all the time. I'm a lawyer. I went to law school. At law school, they really do change the way you think, and they change the way you talk. And the goal is to make everything very precise. But as a result, you can get rather clinical in the way you express yourself. And I have to constantly remind myself to make things more visual, to make things more moving, to bring life into things, to bring emotion into things. And as you may know, because I've mentioned it before, one of my pet peeves is the word sentient. So as animal rights advocates, we have become so used to that word that we don't even notice that no one else in the world ever uses it, and no one else in the world has any idea what it means. And if they do sort of know what it means, it just sounds completely clinical and scientific. This animal is sentient. This animal isn't. And people mean completely different things by it. Some people use it to mean barely, just the most basic level of consciousness. Some people use it in a way that it means capable of all sorts of emotions, and it's just completely crazy. It's the stupidest word. It is the most basic word we use to describe why animals matter. This is our whole meaning in life is based on the fact that these animals matter. The reason they matter is because they are quote unquote sentient, and nobody knows what the fuck we're talking about. So I really think that we have to move on from that word. I have tried to use conscious and instead of sentient, and though people do seem to think that those two words mean different things, I have never had anybody satisfactorily explain to me why they mean different things. I don't understand what the difference is. But recently I've been thinking that conscious even is a little too clinical. I'm thinking maybe aware is a better word than conscious. That animal is aware. Talking about awareness. I don't know whether that's the right word. It doesn't really encompass emotions, which we have to convey that animals, or at least some animals, most animals, are almost certainly experiencing this full range of emotions, probably more emotions than we experience. And so in this article, Monbiot talks about this time that he went to see, I guess, what is an event that people go to see, and it's when beavers start to repopulate the River Otter in Devon. He's in the UK, of course. So his friend commented to him, "It's like a pilgrimage, isn't it? Watching these beavers coming back." And that's a beautiful word. And that really says, it just conveys something about what's going on here. And so that's the kind of metaphoric, poetic language we have to work on using. I'm going to work on it. In spite of being trained as a lawyer, I'm really going to try. So anyway, my guest today is Ravi DeRossi. He has an amazing story. He's a really important figure in New York City's world of food and drink, and he owns no less than 15 highly successful cocktail lounges, bars, and restaurants. They're really well known for their innovative design and creativity. They're charming places. And this is a cutthroat world that he's in. The world of New York City food and drink is not an easy place to succeed, I can tell you. And so as he himself moved from vegetarianism to veganism, he decided he had to take all of his establishments in the same direction. I've always thought about how much we criticize people who are selling animal products, but it's a lot harder to make that transition when not only does your personal life have to change, but your entire business has to change. And Ravi DeRossi is the guy who's doing it. It's just unbelievable. So he's a hugely important figure in the New York City vegan and animal protection world. We're so excited to have him on the podcast. And if you're not in New York City, never fear. You'll be happy to know that he's gradually moving to other locations around the country, and he'll be talking about that. And he will be joining me right after this.
Jasmine here.
And Marianne.
If you're listening to this podcast, let me start off by saying thanks. We are so grateful to you for all of the ways you have supported Our Hen House for the past 8 years.
Running a media nonprofit is no easy feat, and the many ways you keep us going means that the podcasts can keep on changing the world for animals. And that's why we're excited to let you know the great news.
Between now and the end of the year, all donations you make, however big or small, are being doubled thanks to a generous pool of donors we call our Barnyard Benefactors, who are ensuring that any amount we raise up to $20,000 will be doubled. Sounds amazing, right?
Well, it is totally amazing. But in order to get there, we need your support. Here's your opportunity to make a donation and double its impact.
So please, if you've thought about joining the flock or making an additional donation, or if it's just about time for you to renew your flock membership, now is the time to get the most bang out of your buck.
Now.
When?
Now.
Later?
No, now.
Go to ourhenhouse.org/donate to learn more.
The only way to keep indie media going is through supporting its efforts. In this case, Our Hen House, so that we can each have continued access to a place to find our way to change the world for animals.
That place is right here, so thank you.
Welcome to Our Hen House, Ravi.
Thank you very much.
It's such a pleasure to have you. I was really excited about this interview, and I was thinking about why I felt so favorably disposed. And it's because you're a person who has fed me delicious food, even though we've never met. And I always just feel very well disposed to people who have fed me about delicious food. So can you just start out telling people, I'm in New York and so I'm very familiar with your restaurants, but can you tell people basically about your restaurants, how many you started out with, how many you had when you started this idea, and now how many have fully transitioned?
I currently have, I think 14 or 15 open. They're not all restaurants. Some of them are bars. In New York City, and about almost 3 years ago, I made the decision that I needed to get meat and dairy off the menu at as many of them as I possibly could, and basically as quickly as I possibly could. I currently, I think of the 15, I think only 4 of them have meat, dairy, or seafood still on the menus. So some of them are restaurants and some of them are bars, which are just no longer serving food.
So some of them you just stopped serving food completely, and others...
Yeah. While we figure it out. I didn't want to open up 10 vegan restaurants simultaneously. So some of them, like I had a seafood restaurant called Burgeson, which I recently turned into it's straight up just a cocktail bar now. It's just not serving any food. So several of my places are not serving food right now, and eventually I'll come back to them and start serving food. I just don't know what exactly we're going to serve just yet.
It's just a crazy story. And before we go into the whys and hows, your restaurants are all very different in a lot of ways. And so can you just give people just a few examples of the niches you're filling with some of the places that are serving food?
Yeah, I've got one place called Mother of Pearl. It opened up as like a tiki restaurant, and tiki bar and Polynesian restaurant about 2.5 no longer than that, I guess. A while ago, 3 years ago or something. And when we opened, we were serving meat and dairy and all this sort of tiki Polynesian stuff. And then when we made it totally vegan, we kept everything the same theme of everything. We just took meat and dairy and seafood off the menu completely. We even had to go back and redo our cocktail menu, which are all tiki cocktails, so that we don't even order bottles of wine that come, if they have a leather label or they come in a box that uses animal byproducts, we won't order those spirits anymore. So that's one Polynesian tiki restaurant, bar, vegan. I have a Cuban restaurant where it was more of a rum cocktail bar and Cuban tapas place that is now totally vegan. It stayed Cuban. It's just 100% plant-based. Then I had a wine and cheese bar called the Bourgeois Pig. It was one of the first places I ever opened, and one of the most popular ones that I own. And it was all we sold was cheese and fondue. That was our thing, like cheese fondue, cheese and chocolate fondues. And we were going through like 1,000 pounds of cheese a month. And it was difficult to make a cheese restaurant vegan and keep it the same. So I decided to close it and turn it into something altogether. So now it's called Ladybird, and it's basically a vegetable bar. So we just do really great vegetables and sort of vegetable tapas. And then we have a cocktail program, and everything's made with different types of vegetable juices, whether it's beet or carrot or, kale juice or something. But they're cocktails with alcohol. And then I have a restaurant called Avant Garden, which it opened as a vegan restaurant. It was the first place I ever opened straight up vegan. Those are my 4 vegan restaurants that I have right now.
Yeah, and I actually want to circle back in a bit and talk about food, but I do want to just go into the whys. Like, how did this all happen for you? When did you start becoming conscious about animals, and when did it become so strong that you actually felt you had to really take these chances with your business?
I stopped eating meat for the first time when I was 12 years old. And at the time, I didn't know why I was doing it. I didn't even think it was wrong. I don't really remember my thought process. I didn't have a strong affinity towards animals, at least that I knew of. We had 2 dogs that I grew up with who I had zero attachment to. Like, my sisters were very close to our dogs and I wasn't. So I think it was more than anything. I think it was more that I was just out of touch with myself. And I went back and forth for the next, 30 some odd years, whether eating meat or not eating meat, and being vegan, vegetarian, or, eating meat. So I went back and forth for a long time. And then when I got into this business, I just didn't think it'd be possible, right, to only serve. The idea crossed my mind to not serve meat, but I just didn't think it would be possible and have people actually come and be able to stay open. And this was 13, 14 years ago. Obviously, the world has changed a lot since then. But so the tipping point for me was somewhere in this process of opening up all these restaurants and bars in New York City, I started adopting animals. And I now have 2 dogs and 4 cats. Well, 3 cats, 1 pass. And that was sort of the tipping point was for me was 3 years ago. One of my cats, Simon, he got sick, and him and I had a very special bond. Like, all my animals were female, and then Simon was only male, and so it was him and I were the 2 males in the house, and so we had it wasn't that we had a better or worse relationship. We just had a very different sort of bond, and we were very close. And he slept on my chest every night for 8 years. Like, he wouldn't sleep unless he was sleeping on my chest. So he would wake me up and force me to roll over if I was on my stomach, and force me to roll over, and just so he could sleep on my chest. And so for 8 years, that's what happened almost every night. And we were very close. And then he was diagnosed with heart disease, and the doctor said that he's going to die. We don't know how long he's going to live. It could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year. We don't really know, but we just know that he's too sick to fix this. So I'm a workaholic. I work 7 days a week, 10 to 16 hours a day. And that's what I do. And I really like my work and I enjoy it. So I'd never really take time off. But at this point in time, I thought I need to take some time off. I actually moved my apartment. I left my apartment in Brooklyn and moved it right next door to my office so that I could at least go into work for an hour a day or check in on things without really having to leave my apartment. And I stayed home with Simon until he died, and it lasted about 3 months. And like, I don't have a TV or anything. And so I was, sort of going stir crazy because I'm this guy that just works a lot, just sitting home now with Simon. And you could tell he was getting sicker and sicker, and I had to give him 6 shots a day, and he was struggling to breathe, and he would just sit there on my chest. And sort of the moment that it hit me, I was keeping a journal this whole time because I was just going stir crazy. And just this journal sort of became a manifesto of sort of my life and what I wanted it to be, and what I would talk and what I would say and what I was actually doing, and just realizing the hypocrisy of my life at the time, and my great love for animals, which was just growing more and more and more as I got closer to my cats and dogs. And then being able to see, like, I would look at I would look at a lizard and in a picture, and I would see a trait of one of my cats, or I'd look at any picture. I couldn't see a single picture of any animal without seeing a trait of one of these guys that was living with me. And so sort of started putting two and two together and realizing there's really no difference between a dog or a pig or a cow or a lion, and that was an important moment in my life. But during this period when Simon was dying, it was almost, and I could just be making this up in my head, but what it felt like was that because he would just sit on me, on my chest, and purr, and I was struggling. Like, I was having a really hard time with him dying, but he seemed really at peace with it, and it kind of seemed more like he was taking care of me rather than me taking care of him. It was Christmas Day that he died, and that day I decided I'm going to get meat and dairy off the menu at all my places. And so I called a chef friend of mine, a vegan chef friend of mine, on January 1st, and we started getting to work.
That really is, like, I've got chills from that story. Like, I just wonder what was about you that allowed you to be so open to this experience. It's really extraordinary. And so all right, so it's Christmas Day, you make this decision. This is your life. It's like, it's hard enough for anybody to go vegan, but most people, they don't have to change their entire business. So what were some of the great challenges, once you called this vegan chef, what were some of the greatest challenges just in creating the food? We'll get to marketing it after that.
It wasn't a business decision. It sounds like it was a business. It wasn't like, it was more of a moral decision that I was making. And I didn't really, to be honest, like, I don't see life as a challenge, really. It's just like, here it is, do it. So I think my attitude towards it was very different. And we just did it. Like, I didn't think about it. I just was like, all right, I hired Daphne on January 1st. And then by February 14th, on Valentine's Day, Mother of Pearl became 100% vegan. We just did it. And then we did Ladybird, and then we did Cienfuegos. And, it was in the, finding, I guess the biggest challenge in the whole thing is like, Mother of Pearl already had lines out the door every night. It had only been open for like 7 or 8 months, and it was like the new hot cocktail bar in New York City. So it never crossed my mind, is business going to go down? I just assumed business would go down. I didn't really care if we lost business or not. That wasn't the point of what I was doing. Strangely enough, business actually increased when we became vegan.
How do you account for that?
And Mother of Pearl. Well, I think in this day and age, right, there's 3 reasons why anybody would eat more vegetables or become totally vegan or vegetarian. And one being animal rights. They say if factory farms had windows, we would all be vegan. Which to some extent is happening these days. They don't have windows, but just in your Facebook feeds and with social media and this mass communication that we have, everybody in their Facebook feed at some point in a week or day gets some awful article about what's really going on in this meat agricultural world. So people are awakening to how awful it really is. Number 2 is health issues. It's a fact that the number 1 killer of people in this country is heart disease, and it's also a fact that the number 1 cause of heart disease is the consumption of meat and dairy. The World Health Organization came out 2 years ago or 3 years ago and said that processed meats are as carcinogenic as cigarettes. They will cause cancer. And number 3, which is the very big one, is environmental issues, right? So whether you believe it or not, global warming is happening. It's a fact. And the world is changing, and everybody can see it. People are denying it, but they know it's there. For the most part, I think people really know it's there. They just choose to deny it because they're going to make more money if it doesn't exist. And it's a fact that the number 1 cause of global warming, of this climate change, is the meat and dairy industry. So I think people are now just sort of awakening to all these 3 issues and realizing that they're true, and science backs it all up. And people want to do something about it. So a lot of people don't know what to do. They can't change to a fully vegan diet just yet. Eventually, they might have to. If they don't make the choice now, at some point in time, most of us are going to get forced. Maybe not in this lifetime, but in the next generation, if not sooner. We're going to be forced to do it. So being that people are now conscious of what's going on in the world, whether it's health, environment, or animal rights, people want to do something. So if it just means eating more vegetables once or twice or 3 times a week, or going to one of my bars and getting drunk, as opposed to going to another bar that's serving meat and getting drunk, they're choosing the option to go to a place that is somewhat conscious because it makes them feel better. And
Well, I think you've just like really summarized what you've brought to the table here, so to speak. That you've got this moment, and I hope you're right that the reason people want to grab this moment is because they are becoming more aware of the issues. But you made it, you really brought a new sense of style to veganism in New York City. And it seems to me that your career has been based on your sense of style to, not just making good food, but making a great place. Do you think that is, and you've brought that to veganism. Do you think that's a huge contribution that you've made?
Well, for lack of a better word, part of my mission, I think, and what I'm doing right now is trying to help change the perception of what vegan. Until a few years ago, it was almost like a bad word. It had very negative connotations. It was this sort of hippie, crunchy, bad tasting, low salt, low spice, like terrible place to be, or this world to live in. And so,
not a place you're going to go to get drunk.
Not just a place to go to get drunk, but even get good food. 5 years ago, there was not a lot of places where you could get really great vegetables and enjoy and feel satiated and feel like you ate enough salt and spice and flavor and you're full. So again, the perception. So part of what I'm trying to do is help change the perception. I'm not trying to change, everybody wants to change the word from vegan to plant-based or to something else. Like, I just want to sort of not relay, that's not the right word, but just change the definition of what it means to be vegan and not make it a negative thing, to make it somewhat cool. And so, for lack of a better word, I own all these sort of cool places to go, and I'm the furthest thing from cool myself, but
I don't know, you sound pretty cool to me.
It's become cool to go to Ladybird. It's a cool looking place. Or to go to Mother of Pearl, we have amazing tiki cocktails and we're world renowned for being some of the best, whatever. And so that's sort of what I'm trying to do, is just change that perception.
So how has the press been? Has the press been your friend or your foe?
Oh, no, they've totally been my friend. There's been really nothing bad that I've seen or read about anything I've done so far in this vegan space. We've been getting a ton of press. I mean, other than a few random comments here about someone didn't like a specific dish or something, it's been amazing. I couldn't have asked for better press.
So it sounds like a perfect response, but I'm just wondering if there is anything that you would have done differently or perhaps will do differently moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, a few of these projects, I rushed into them and hired the wrong people and opened with the wrong menus and things like that. But I'll try to take a little bit more time and more care. I just was in a rush in the beginning to get meat and dairy off the menu, and now that I've done it almost everywhere, I can sort of, like when we first turned Bourgeois Pig into Ladybird last summer, I did it in 1 month. I literally closed the Bourgeois Pig, renovated the space, created the menu, opened up within 30 days, and that was, and I just don't think we did it right because I rushed into it. So,
well, that's particularly tough too, because you were changing the name of the restaurant.
Yeah, we're essentially just making it a completely new restaurant, just doing it in 30 days. But that's partly why I eventually closed that location and relocated it and just opened a month ago. And we took our time doing it, so we did it right. At least I hope so.
So for people listening to this who would like to encourage other restaurant owners to at least be more vegan, maybe they're not in the same head that you are, but how do you think, as a restaurateur, how should people approach people who have restaurants by getting the message across, but still having respect for the fact that they have to keep an eye on their bottom line, they might not be that familiar? What would your pitch be to a restaurant?
You just want to stick to the facts. I think that's probably the most important thing. That it is. There's so many facts. I don't have them listed in front of me here, but there's a million facts out there about just the growth of the vegetable industry and how better they are for our environment and how more people want to, conscious consumerism is like the number one trend in the world right now. And people are more aware of what's going on and people want to eat more vegetables. And this is why there's more vegan restaurants opening. I would just say stick to the facts and explain to them that there are people that want to eat vegetables out there. So why not offer them?
Speaking of eating,
also the bottom line, like I'll tell you, I have high-end seafood restaurants. We run at a 40-45% food cost. Some of my vegan restaurants are running at like a 17 to 19% food cost. And I didn't even realize that would be the case until we started turning them. So you make more money if that means anything, which should mean something.
Yeah, that
for
is
a lot
a
of
pretty
people.
good argument for most people.
Yeah. So, if the government stopped subsidizing the meat and dairy market in this country, the cost of meat would triple, and we'd all stop serving meat anyways. So basically it's either going to happen by force or we make the choice now.
So how do you feel about the difference between the kind of plant-forward cuisine of really vegetable-centric as opposed to meat substitutes?
Well, I personally have never really gotten into meat substitutes myself. I don't like them. But for me, my number one, like I mentioned, the 3 reasons why anybody would become vegan. For me, the number one reason is animal rights. So anything that gets meat off the menu, I don't care what it takes, So if it means eating meat substitutes, that's fine. I actually am opening up a vegan sandwich shop soon in the next couple months, and that's gonna we'll have all sorts of meat substitutes on that menu.
Can you tell me more about that?
Well, have you been to Avant Garden?
Absolutely. I love Avant Garden.
Yeah, so we're opening up what's called Avant Garden Sandwich Co. or AG Sandwich Co. And it's just going to be right next door to Avant Garden or a couple doors down. And it's just, there's going to be 6 iconic sandwiches on the menu. Like there's going to be a Philly cheesesteak, a banh mi, a gyro, an Italian sub, a couple other ones, some breakfast sandwiches, and some really good like local beer selection, and just it's going to be a really cool sandwich shop. It's going to have sort of a butcher shop vibe to it. Like we're going to sell by the pound or half pound, all sorts of different plant-based, nut-based cheeses and meats and things like that too. So tiny little place.
That sounds amazing.
But that'll be open soon. Yeah.
What in all your restaurants, which is like your favorite cuisine or your favorite dishes? What kind of dishes do you personally like?
It changes. It sometimes it just depends on the new restaurant that's opened or it's what I'm in the mood for. But I basically eat a different meal every day of the month. I go to tastings almost every day at my different restaurants to check with the chefs and see what's going on. And so it'd be impossible for me to say what's my favorite because I eat something different every day, and every day whatever I'm eating is usually my favorite.
That was a very, very. You would make a great mom. I have no favorites.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Beast Foundation.
So Beast Foundation Beast stands for Benefits to End Animal Suffering Today, and the idea came to me several years ago. I wanted to do more in the animal rights space, but I didn't have the time. Right, I was working every day. I didn't really have the time to go and volunteer and be on the ground getting anything good done. But what I did have was these really cool bars and restaurants in New York City and these spaces, and I know a ton of celebrities, and I know a lot of wealthy people, so what I can do is just throw these really awesome parties and bring in guest chefs and charge people a bunch of money to come to the events, and then give all that money to organizations that are on the ground getting stuff done. So, so it's only been in existence for a couple years. We've only done like 4 or 5 events. Eventually we'll build it up into something more, but we partnered with Sea Shepherd for an event on our first event was at Mother of Pearl, and it was on my birthday 2 years ago. And we did an event for Sea Shepherd, and then we did an event for Animals Asia. We're doing one next month for Beagle Freedom Project. We've done some other ones I don't recall right now.
Sounds
but
great.
That's the idea. It's like, this is just how I can make it work in my life.
Yeah, I love that you're working with organizations that, that they're not small really, but they're working in their own niche, and they have a huge impact on a particular area of animal exploitation. You're really helping to educate people by having events for those kinds of organizations, which aren't huge. You're educating people about all the different kinds of ways that animals are harmed, and that people can help them. So it's really exciting project. So what are your next, in addition to your sandwich shop, what's next on your quest to take the world vegan?
Without going into a lot of detail, and I can't just yet because we haven't signed the contracts, but we are in the process of this massive sort of national expansion and looking at spaces outside of the country as well. So again, I can't talk a lot about it right now because we're still sort of trying to figure out the finalize the whole deal. But
it'll be fine. We won't tell anybody.
I'm sure you won't.
I want to know.
I can't talk about it.
All right, I get it.
But it's all good. I mean, it is. We're going to expand
very exciting.
very, very rapidly and into a lot of cities over the next few years.
Well, that is exciting. I'm sure everybody listening to this who is not in New York is incredibly jealous, but now excited that maybe some of your restaurants will be reaching them. So thank you. Great. I just love talking to you. I feel completely energized. And thanks for making New York so much more vegan friendly and for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on the show.
If you're not a member of the Our Hen House flock yet, but have been secretly dreaming of it, our monthly donation levels are now at $10, $15, and $25. And don't forget that Our Hen House is a nonprofit, so it's all totally tax deductible. Head on over to ourhenhouse.org to join the flock and our family of supporters. For $10 a month or a one-time yearly donation of $100, you get to be part of the community on the Our Hen House Flock Facebook page, where you can interact with us and other members of the Our Hen House audience. And you'll also receive access to very exclusive bonus content from our guests and from the Our Hen House team. For $15 a month or a one-time yearly donation of $150, you also get the community of the flock page, the exclusive bonus content, but you also get a very cool Our Hen House bumper sticker, and hopefully most important, the satisfaction of knowing that you're going that extra mile to support media that is changing the world for animals. And for $25 a month or a one-time yearly donation of $250, in addition to those other perks, we would love to announce your name on the podcast as a squawking supporter. So head on over to ourhenhouse.org/donate to make your tax-deductible donation to support important media that you love and to continue to change the world for animals.
Now let's get into the news. Our first story is from Common Dreams. This is the big story of the week. Amazing news. Rights groups celebrate after Italy bans use of circus animals. Really great news out of Italy. And this is an outright ban of all use of animals in circuses. This is due to the work of Animal Defenders International. And they haven't set the date yet. There's going to be a phase out. So, this isn't a done deal. But the law has been implemented and it's going to happen. So really, really great news, and comes really close on the heels of a very similar move in India, which happened just a few weeks ago. So all of these are exciting. Let's get that done here. Okay, guys? Of course, New York banned elephants in circuses not too long ago, but we need a lot more than that. Our second story is from Veg News. Rampant animal cruelty exposed at Land O'Lakes. This is an undercover investigation by Direct Action Everywhere at the Zonneveld Dairy, a California dairy supplier to Land O'Lakes, and it looked into the treatment of calves and found calves living in filth, unprotected from temperatures that range between 19 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit, suffering from disease, including pneumonia, diarrhea, open sores. This was an all-female investigative team, which is cool. And, we'll see what happens. Apparently, they have welfare standards, and they have a third-party auditor, which is called Farmers Assuring Responsible Management. So this kind of demonstrates how much any of that is worth. Our third story is from goldrushcam.com, which is the website for the Sierra Sun-Times. This is in California. New California proposed initiative enters circulation, establishes new standards for confinement of certain farm animals, bans sale of certain non-complying products. Yes, this is a new, of course, as we know, the big ballot initiative that started to ban certain really, really horrific intensive confinement systems was in California. There were a few before that, but the big one that went after the big three, battery cages for egg-laying hens, veal crates and gestation crates for pigs. Well, there have been some problems in implementing it, especially in the definition of what constitutes too close confinement under that law for hens, egg-laying hens, and it's been interpreted by the industry to allow cages. And so this ballot initiative, if it passes, and this is going to be a huge effort led by HSUS, would make it clear that egg-laying hens have to be raised in cage-free environments. It would also set minimum space requirements for veal calves and breeding pigs, according to this story, and it would go after sales, as we've seen in Massachusetts, which passed a ballot, which implemented a ballot initiative not too long ago. They went not only after banning production under these circumstances, but banning the sale of products, regardless of where they were. Why should I say produced? Where they were killed. Unless these standards were complied with. So if this passes, big deal. The industry is going to be so pissed off. All right, our next story is from Animals Asia, and this is just a shout out to the great work of Animals Asia. Indonesian government bans brutal boar versus dog fights in rural villages. You don't even want to go on this page because the video is just horrifying, and great work from Animals Asia for bringing attention. I mean, they got this video. Once they got the video, the Indonesian government started to pay attention. So, and this will be banned, these boar versus dog fights, just horrific stuff. So, great work from Animals Asia. And, finally, this is a story from Reuters. Animal activists who freed 2,000 minks lose U.S. appeal. This was a conviction that was gotten against activists Kevin Johnson and Tyler Lang several years ago. And the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals has just refused their appeal. And this was their argument was based on the constitutionality of the Animal Enterprise Terrorism Act, and the court upheld that law. So this is, very unfortunate. And frequently, when the court upholds the law, it interprets it more narrowly. So that can be a good thing. But I would love to see this law gone. As the defendants point out, the word terrorism, it should not be applied to these people. We're talking about destruction of property, and to use the word terrorism, I think is very prejudicial in when these defendants are being prosecuted. But court doesn't agree with me. So, and there were many other arguments as well that were rejected here. So unfortunate news out of Chicago. And that's it for this week's news.
Hey, it's Michael Herron here. I have a little bit more news for you, and I hope you don't mind if I share it with you really quickly. I had the pleasure of attending the gala. It's a yearly gala for the Coalition for Healthy School Food. And there were some awesome people there who I was thrilled to talk to. Luckily, I just happened to bring along my recorder. It wasn't an accident. I knew there would be some great people to talk to, and I've got some great interviews to share with you. I talked first to Cynthia King, who you may know from Cynthia King Ballet Slippers. Cynthia was actually honored that night for the work she does for the Coalition, and she had some things to say about how healthy food relates to mental health.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about mental health and how eating plant-based foods helps people's emotional well-being. And it's really been proven that eating plants helps to elevate your mood, helps you to focus better, even helps with creativity and curiosity. So we know that for students to have those qualities and to be able to feel better in the classroom is going to help them to succeed in school, which is certainly one of our goals. I also think that it helps when you eat plant-based foods that you can have a clean conscience at night, and you can sleep knowing that you didn't participate in any of these horrors that are a part of, that are really all of animal agriculture. So if you can sleep with a clear conscience knowing you didn't contribute to the suffering of animals and the suffering of people and illness and disease and the devastation of the land and the air and the water and homes and especially neighborhoods of people of color in particular, I really think that there's not anything that anyone could say to me that would convince me that any of this is untrue. We are definitely on the right path, and eating plant and not eating animal products is the way to go. It's the future, and everyone seems to be heading there quickly.
NFL defensive lineman David Carter is better known in our circles as the 300-pound vegan. And I had the absolute pleasure to talk to David at this event, and he grabs a lot of his inspiration from the kids.
The program is providing healthier options and doing the diligence to get healthier options into the schools, and the kids are very receptive to it. And you could see that by the way that their plates were looking. They were getting all the vegetables, all the lettuce, all the hummus and the chickpeas were gone. There was the first thing gone. The hamburgers were the last thing there. Speaking to the kids and sharing my story and the reason why I went plant-based and the cultural reasons behind going plant-based and how I feel like is one of the best things to do. It definitely is. It was extremely powerful. The kids loved it, and they're doing such a great job. So I had to come over here and show some support because, the proof is in the pudding, and they're doing a great job here. So, in the vegan pudding.
Right. Thanks so much.
Yeah. No. Thank you.
Finally, I talked to Mark Wood, who has a lot of experience volunteering directly with the kids who the coalition reaches out to.
For the last few years, we've been going into the schools, teaching the kids how to make plant-based food, simple dishes, hands-on experience for them so they pertain the information more, and also speaking to the teachers and the parents about plant-based food and the health benefits of it. It's been a beautiful experience, it really has.
The kids pretty receptive to
the kids, Michael, the kids are more receptive than adults. You know why? Because they're not being tainted so much by the years of conditioning or addiction to meats or foods. So really the kids are actually super excited, and I'm like a big kid when I go in there as well, so that's why it works with me. I'm like the kid, and the kids love that, and we have a great time. And there's obviously the one kid that's crying in the corner, there's the kid that doesn't speak, and then there's the kids that don't like it, but for the most percentage, the kids are excited. It's something new, and remember, they've been fed the same food for a long time.
Yeah.
So to taste something new, and tofu, it's like all new to them. It's super, and I get excited, as you can hear. So.
Yeah, it's great. Like when I was thinking about going vegan, I was like, oh, what am I going to do? It's going to be so boring. But all I ate was like chicken breasts and like broccoli.
Yeah,
like
it's the same food.
I just ate the same things over and over again. Now I eat such a diverse array of food. So it's great to know that the kids respond well to that.
Oh, very much so. There's always going to be challenges ahead, but either way, this is the right direction. And for like the people like Amy and Kelly who run this organisation, because I know how I felt when I saw that Meatless Monday thing that we were at the other day, and then to see more schools getting on board, it's so rewarding because we need to see progress, and this is progress. I nearly swore there, folks.
You can swear.
Oh, that was fucking progress.
There we go.
That's the Scotsman in me. So, and it's a great thing. It's planting seeds with the right people, the kids, because it's harder with adults. It's possible, of course, but the kids, it's just a beautiful thing. And the kids will be going home saying, "Mom, I want tofu," and the mums will be buying tofu, and they'll be having tofu. Yeah. So, there's so many goods that come out of this thing, and we've got many to come. And 10 years ago, nobody was standing up on a podium, the mayor of New York, saying we're going to have a Meatless Monday. So, what can you say?
Yeah.
Like he said, first in Brooklyn, then in the boroughs, then all over America, then the world follows New York.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I see it happening.
Yeah, so great stuff, Mike.
Well, there you have it. That's my little segment, bonus news content for you. Right after this, you'll hear from Jasmine Singer in her interview with Keith Burgeson.
Our Hen House is brought to you in part through the generosity of Rancho Compasión. Founded by Miyoko and Michael Schinner in the bucolic town of Nicasio, California, Rancho Compasión provides a home to a growing number of previously neglected, exploited, and abused farmed animals in the Bay Area with the support of compassionate family and volunteer caretakers. Excitingly, this nonprofit is also developing into a thriving and ever-expanding sanctuary and education center. So to learn more about Rancho Compasión and to get involved with their important mission of changing the world for animals, go to ranchocompasion.org. That's ranchocompasion.org, ranchocompasion.org. And on a personal note, I was lucky enough to speak at an event at Rancho Compasión recently, and the place is magical. Probably if you're listening to this, you're already familiar with Miyoko's line of vegan cheeses and butter. I mean, to say the least, it's changing the world by the way of food activism. But she is bringing that exact same passion and drive and talent and just worldview to her work with Rancho Compasión. The place is amazing. Support their efforts. Support the efforts of Miyoko because she has been supporting yours for so long. Greetings, everybody. This is Jasmine Singer. I love Ravi DeRossi. I'm so excited about that interview that Our Hen House was able to do with him. Such a hero to me. And I'm very, very excited about my guest today, Keith Burgeson. Keith is the person behind the incredible new vegan mentoring program. And if you're a regular listener of Our Hen House, you definitely want to pay attention to this. He has excellent tips for not only how to be a mentor and how to show up, but just general communication techniques that I found really useful. And also, I hope that if you are vegan and you're listening to this, that you'll consider joining the mentorship program, which I'll talk a little bit more about during this interview. So here is my interview with Keith Burgeson. Welcome to Our Hen House, Keith.
Hi, Jasmine. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to have you. I was reading your bio again just before chatting with you, and I was like, he's from New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey. It's very exciting to talk to another Jersey kid.
Yeah, likewise. We certainly travel well.
Yeah. we tend to get out of New Jersey. I don't quite...
Yeah, I think that...
I don't know. Where are you based now?
I am based in Durham, North Carolina, the Triangle area.
You are doing something in your life that I'm very, very excited to chat with you about, and that is PETA's Vegan Mentor Program. And I have so many questions for you about it. Just like in a nutshell, what is PETA's Vegan Mentor Program?
Yeah, no, I'm ecstatic to talk about it. So the Vegan Mentor Program was essentially created as a supplemental resource for new vegans. We pair them with a knowledgeable mentor whom is essentially their personal lifeline to help them transition into this new lifestyle. People that are happy to share their personal experiences and to network with new vegans who so often express to us the benefit of having that go-to person who understands, the ropes and what they're going through.
Yeah, I just don't. I wish I had that. I guess that's probably partly why this program was started, because of all of the people who, like me, say, I wish I had that. And that being said, I kind of did have that, and it wasn't like official. But the reason that I went vegan with such gusto, and the reason I stayed vegan for so long, was because of that initial group of people who took me under their wing. So why was this program established?
And basically we were responding to a need. We were receiving a huge number of emails and phone calls from people with questions about going vegan. So we thought to ourselves, okay, it'd be a great idea to create this resource and reach out to people offering help with these questions about, not only what they're eating, but also other lifestyle choices that negatively affect animals and the environment and personal health and all. And so we've simply let it just grow from there.
Very exciting. Tell me about the training program that the mentors go through and what is involved in it.
So when we recruit mentors that come to us to help with the program, and most of the everybody who comes to us is that's on our mentoring staff is a knowledgeable vegan already. You know, it's not that we're having to show them the ropes of, oh, this is why, you know, you don't have to worry about protein, or, you know, this is, you know, all the other questions that you get. You know, our mentors know that coming in. So with the training process, it's more so familiarizing them with what the new aspiring vegans need, you know, because in a lot of circumstances, because the mentors that we have been vegan for so long and they're so knowledgeable, you know, it's kind of oftentimes there can be a disconnect as to, you know, what it was like when you first went vegan. And of course, you know, if you have a mentor that has been vegan for 10, 15, 20 years, it's a completely different ballgame nowadays with the amount of resources that are out there for new vegans. So just making sure that new vegans are up to date with stuff, and or I'm sorry, that the mentors are up to date with everything that is available to new vegans so that they can link them to certain things. And on top of that, we'll do like a mock email correspondence with mentors for a little while before pairing them with live new vegans, just so they kind of get a grasp of what those interactions will entail. But I mean, that's basically what it comes down to.
How long have you been vegan?
I have been vegan for a little over 8 years. How about you?
14, I think. Yeah, 14 years. And then, you know, at that time, I think people were going vegetarian before vegan. Now people tend to go more and more vegan rather than just go to that kind of middle ground of vegetarian first. But so I was a long time vegetarian before then, but I was definitely the kind of vegetarian that only ate like pizza and eggs. But but yeah, I guess the reason I wanted to know how long you've been vegan, and now that you know how long I've been vegan, is because I think that you just hit on something important, which is that the needs of new vegans are different. The information that new vegans now want is different than when I went vegan and when there was not that much available to us. So how do you think the needs have changed in the past, let's say, decade?
Oh, great question. You know, I feel that, well, you also hit on something very true to form, is that, you know, a lot of people are going vegan immediately or making that transition at a much more like rapid rate. And I think that's because of the ever increasing availability of these products, whether, you know, there's restaurants that are more conducive to plant-based diets, or grocery stores carrying just such a vast majority of plant-based foods as well. You know, so a lot of it comes down to just where to start. And nowadays, you know, we can, you know, it's so much easier for us to say that, hey, going vegan is easy, or it's certainly a lot easier than it was 5, 10, 15 years ago because of those aforementioned reasons. And, you know, that's just something that we really emphasize to people, is that, you know, it's really important to differentiate the way that people look at food and those other lifestyle choices that they're making. You know, it's not about giving up certain foods. It's not about giving up, you know, the certain articles of clothing or cosmetics. You know, it's about rethinking the way that we eat, rethinking our purchasing habits, because all of those things have alternatives that are very easily accessible nowadays.
Yeah, and I feel like something else that might be different now than it was back then is that there was not that whole, like, you know, weird sort of plant-based movement, I guess I want to call it. I mean, I definitely don't want to like, I'm not trying to come down on it, because the more and more people that go vegan, no matter what they call themselves, I'm thrilled, and because at the end of the day, it's helping the animals. But I feel like there is like there are these different fractions now than there were back then. And so I think that people tend to get confused when they go on to like the internet and start Googling things now, more than back then when there wasn't so much, I guess, backlash. Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. No, you nailed it, because, you know, it's weird, almost like a double-edged sword. It's like we have between social media and all these groups that are doing marvelous outreach, important outreach for animals. You know, it presents that, you know, potential issue where people are now going out into the public, onto the interwebs, and seeing all of this, back and forth, and it almost presents this, this confusion. And that's why one of the major focuses that we really try to hone in on with working with our mentors to relay that to new vegans is that, you can, it is so important to build and to connect with like-minded people and those communities, both locally and online, because it can make all the difference. I, like you had said, I'm the same. I didn't have that 8 years ago when I went vegan. Not to say that it didn't exist, but to have a resource like this where we can really show people like, hey, this is. There's all these groups in your area. Like you always have your mentor. You can go to them for anything. That's your lifeline. But it is so important to just connect with those local groups. Do some outreach. Go join a vegan potluck group in your area. That stuff is really powerful. And that we want people to go vegan. That's what we're doing. We're helping them go vegan. But the most important, we want people to be vegan 6 months, 6 years from now. So really tightening those bonds that people make from as early as possible.
Yeah, so good. So good, especially given the numbers that are coming out about recidivism rates. And I know that the study that was done about recidivism is a few years old now, but it was unfortunate. And so I think like community like Our Hen House is so important, and community, just having people be actually connected with real live vegans, like what you're talking about, it's absolutely vital to maintaining the longevity of people's veganism. Because for like you and for me and for I'm sure a lot of people listening to this, it's like such a no-brainer, and it would be so weird to think about like not being vegan anymore. But the truth is, people come from such a variety of circumstances. They're like, they're heading up family households that are not vegan, and they're living in like places and working in atmospheres where it is just it's not embraced or understood. And so, I think that it's fantastic. What do you think I just named a couple of the possible scenarios that might be, a factor for people in the difficulty of going vegan. I want to know if you agree with me, and if you think that there are other difficulties that people might have in navigating their new veganism.
Yeah, no, I mean, I certainly agree. We absolutely see all of those scenarios through our program. And I feel that, as veganism just continues to gain momentum and, public attention, with that comes the resources, with that comes, counteractive viewpoints on just like anything on the lifestyle. And I mean, we get a lot of women who are either pregnant or have newborns that are, deeply considering and want to raise vegan children. And it's something that, we're seeing with a far greater prevalency than we did in years past because of the attention that the lifestyle is giving and the obvious benefits, predominantly when it comes to expecting mothers, the continued research that's being done to show that raising kids vegan is not only safe, but it can, have a lot of benefits for their family's health and well-being. So, yeah, gosh, we get people from all over the place. I mean, I've worked with women in their 60s that have worked in chicken slaughter plants for the last 3 or 4 decades that want to go vegan. They've had enough. They know, it's emotionally draining for them, and they've just gotten to a point where they just can't do it anymore. And so if a 60-year-old woman who's worked at slaughter plants for 30 years can go vegan, that just shows you the power in, this lifestyle and what the attention that it's getting, just how invoking it is in terms of changing people's mindsets.
By the way, I hear your cat, and I just think it's like the cutest thing that your cat is. No, please. It's like my favorite part of interviewing people. And so who is your cat? Just introduce them.
That is Avo. She is a 5-year-old tuxedo that I rescued off the street in California. And anyone who knows Avo, she's kind of infamous in my circle. I mean, she's a tiny little petite 8-pound cat that has the vocal capacity of that can compete with any lion or
so cute.
Large cat.
It's, I know that we got your bio and everything before this interview, but Avo did not send hers. I'm just saying she's a little tardy on the bio end of things. So,
well, you'll quickly learn that everything is on Avo's terms.
I see.
So yeah, she didn't, she wasn't in the mood. It's just, it's not a happening thing.
Got it. So you just touched on something that I'm curious about, and it was just that these people are going vegan from all different walks of life. It's definitely not fitting like a particular demographic anymore, and I'm not sure it ever was, but that was always just the perception out there. So why are people going vegan now? Because I have a theory, and I want to hear from you first. I want to know why in all of the people you're chatting with, you're seeing people are jumping aboard.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's certainly a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, we talked about all the vegan and animal rights groups out there that are doing just such marvelous work on the ground, online, in media. I mean, that certainly contributes to a large percentage of it. Obviously, podcasts such as Our Hen House. I mean, all of these things have made a tremendous difference. I think a lot of the scientific research, when it comes to nutrition and traditionally we've perceived meat and dairy and all this stuff as necessary to human health. And, it's just becoming ever increasingly obvious that it's all rubbish, right? We don't need that stuff. In fact, we're healthier when we don't eat it. And again, this is preaching to the choir, but all that stuff certainly helps. And honestly, I think as more and more of these industries are exposed for what they really, really are, in regards to, it all comes down to money, of course. They're only gonna quote care about the animals to the extent that their wallets aren't affected. And between undercover investigations and all of these baloney ag laws that are trying to come to fruition and being shot down, it's just the public sees that, and the animal agriculture, I mean, they've been caught with their hands in the cookie jar far too many times that it's just it's one of those things that over time you just that credibility just continues to diminish, and people care. Most people are good people that care, and if we are able to connect those dots for people, then, or if we're able to present information that helps people connect those dots, then good people are going to react to that in a positive way. And that positive reaction is an interest in veganism.
Yeah, totally. It's exciting to see the shifts. I've seen, just from where I sit, that What the Health and these documentaries about like the way it's destroying our bodies is what's reaching so many people. Like every fest I'm speaking at, every book event I give, the vast majority of people in the audience, they'll start a sentence to me by saying, "I just saw this documentary," and I say, "What the hell?" Yes, how did you know? And so what I'm hoping, of course, is that they join for these reasons. They start to discover plant-based foods, and then they realize the ethical imperative of staying vegan. And so, that's what I think that the mentor program is partly so good at doing. I'm wondering how many people have passed through the program at this point.
To date, we have mentored a little over close to 2,500 people, new vegans. And again, that's all walks of life, all different kinds of socioeconomic statuses, and nearly 70 countries represented.
That's wonderful. Wow, so great. And so what kind of feedback are you getting from people who go through the program?
Positive. You know, it really, that having that go-to person, like I said, that really gets what they're going through, and just someone that they can open up to about, what they're experiencing with that, quote, transition. It's just immensely positive, and then that was just going back to when the program started. We were receiving all these inquiries, and so we did like a brief pilot of like, hey, we're offering these, free mentors to people, and it was just internal at that point. And the feedback was just it was mind-boggling how positive and well received and appreciative the people were for what we were offering. And it was really just a no-brainer. We had the capacity, we had the resources, so it was certainly something we had to jump on, and and it's just been phenomenally positive.
Getting a little bit more into the weeds, like what is the correspondence like between the mentors and the mentees? Is it like, text me when you're at a restaurant and you're about to order the non-vegan thing and like I'll intervene? Or is it like just like it almost feels like, I hope it's okay for me to say this, but it almost feels like a sponsor, like a 12 steps sponsor.
Yeah, I know. I knew exactly where you were going with that. But no, I'm glad you said it. And it's something that we joke about. We don't want it to be like that, but necessarily unless people want it to be. It's whatever people want. And that's the beauty of it, is that, it's all the beauty of the format is that, it's about personalization. So every single interaction is different. Everyone's background is different. Everyone's, current situation is different. Everyone's future outlook is different. And their goals are different. Everything is different. Every single interaction that we have. So it's, so it really just depends on the person, but having that connection to somebody who gets it is certainly vital. And the majority of it is via email. I'm texting new vegans all the time. I'm video calling people in Italy and Canada and South Africa all the time. So it really just depends on the person. We certainly have people that they'll text me when they're at the grocery store and they'll send me a picture. Hey, is this vegan? Or, hey, I have 2 vegan sausages here. Which one's better? Which one do you want? So it really just depends on the person, and whatever they need, that personalization plays into it. And, it's accommodating regardless of where anybody stands on their quote level of vegan.
So I've talked to people in the past who, are vegan themselves, but never, ever, ever, ever will speak up about it. And it's because they're afraid that they don't know all the answers. And, we've just talked about how long we've been vegan. I definitely don't know all the answers. I'm still stumped. I got misinformation recently and like had to like leave the store, and something in me was like, that's not right. And I looked it up, and it was misinformation. It was about a type of candle wax that the person at the store told me is animal derived when I asked, and I was like, this is not animal derived. And I like did all this research and looked it up and went back in, and I was like, you know what? It's actually not animal derived. But like, I didn't know right there, standing there. I believed what she had told me. We don't always know everything, but I don't think that should hold us back from mentoring others or from speaking up in larger crowds. Do you feel, can you just speak to that a little bit? Because I get the feeling that somebody listening to this might want to mentor, but have a little doubtful voice saying, yes, but I don't know everything.
Yeah, no, I am so glad that you brought that up, because not only is that an issue that we really emphasize and drive home with new vegans, but we also do that with mentors who, like you said, may be a little hesitant because they've only been vegan for 4 years, and they might not know every little idiosyncrasy that comes down. And hey, again, same as you, I don't know every single thing about being vegan. It's certainly something that you just learn more and more over time. But the important thing for any vegan, whether you've been vegan for 2 days or 30 years, is that it's not about perfection, right? It's not about this pursuit of personal purity. It's okay if you don't know everything. You're going to get questions as a mentor. You're going to get questions as a new vegan that you don't know. And you don't have to have all those answers. There's nothing wrong with telling somebody, hey, I'll get back to you on that. And there's, you of course don't want to knowingly tell somebody something that is untrue. But when it comes to being a sustainable lifestyle, especially for the new vegans, it's not like, oh, if I can't be 100% vegan, in terms of knowing everything, then it's not worth doing. That's not the case at all. You do as much as you can in any circumstance, with those daily lifestyle choices, and you just strive to continually improve yourself. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. I think that you brought up a really good point, which is that it is okay to say, that's a great question. I'll get back to you on that. And I've had that happen at Q&As in front of groups of hundreds of people, and I've had it happen. You know what? I'm not sure, so let me get your email and I'll let you know. And it's okay. It's actually appreciated by the other person because they know that you're not bullshitting them, and so that's, I think, valuable feedback for anybody, regardless of whether they're going to join this mentorship program or not. But that being said, I would imagine that our listeners are a great pool of people to consider becoming mentors. And I also think, going back to what I said about the 12 steps model, that this kind of act of service is really important to our personal process as vegans and as activists and as people who want to avoid burnout. I think being a mentor and having a mentor is an important box to check off if we want to take care of our own animal rights. And so, that being said, how do people get involved with becoming a mentor?
Yeah, gosh, I couldn't be happier that you brought up that point about it just being good for an existing vegan's mentality, because it does present such a positive opportunity, right? As amazing as this program is, and it is for new vegans, we also are presented with this exciting opportunity for existing vegans, for essentially your audience, to get involved by becoming a volunteer mentor. And you can visit our website at PETA.org/vegan mentor. And if anyone out there listening is interested in becoming a mentor, because the beauty of it is, moving forward with us, we want to, the biggest focus we have right now is expanding our mentor recruitment. We want to bring on more mentors. I mean, it's a simple concept, right? The more mentors that we have on our team, the more new vegans we can efficiently accommodate, right? And as those numbers continue to grow, we're able to, which I find really cool, is as we bring on more and more mentors, we're essentially broadening our geographic span and density of where we have mentors. So then we're able to increasingly regionalize the pairings with new vegans. So not only now you have that go-to person in your life, but you have a go-to person in your life that lives nearby, that knows the restaurant scene, that knows all those local veg groups, or which grocery stores carry Daya, right? So it has added benefit for the new vegans as well, coming full circle with it, to bring on more and more mentors.
Yeah, totally. Oh, I just want to challenge everyone who's listening to this to step up and become a mentor. And, I think that it is a natural extension of Our Hen House, because what we're trying to do at Our Hen House for the people who are listening is really create a community and create a place where we could all change the world for animals. And part of changing the world for animals is not only absorbing the information that we're listening to and that we're hearing from people like you, Keith, but just kind of asking ourselves, well, how can we step up what we're doing? And so if you're listening to this, especially if you're a flock member, I really encourage you to join this program, because it seems amazing. And it also just seems like it has far-reaching potential. I love also the blend of grassroots activism that is replicable, and that to me is what this is. It's grassroots activism that is replicable. I love the blend of that with actual person to person contact, because there are so many Facebook groups out there for new vegans, and they're phenomenal, but there is something about knowing a person and having them in your phone and being able to reach out that is like insurance.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. There's so much value in that personal connection.
So I just have a general question for you. It's hard to believe, but it's just about the holidays. It's November now, and I honestly can't even believe that, but it is. And we're reaching a point of the year where it's challenging for a lot of vegans, whether they're new vegans or long-term vegans, to deal with like navigating through family circumstances and through possibly obligatory circumstances of like sitting around a table with carcasses there, and just very uncomfortable for a lot of people. I guess I'd like to know if you have any advice for our listeners who are themselves vegans, who might be kind of dreading these difficult moments, or how to get through.
Yeah, and certainly something that we this time of year have a lot of correspondence with. In regards to our new vegans as well, and I'm sure it's something that a lot of existing vegans are worried about. But here's the thing, like most people that are not very receptive to vegan yet, it's almost psychologically threatening to them, right? And to think that, oh gosh, like especially in America, that there's nothing more habitual than eating meat. So people trying to envision their typical plate without meat, it's like, oh wow, I've just gotten rid of 90% of the food on my plate, and it just goes back to rethinking that. So you have to remember, as a vegan, as immensely powerful as it is for your individual impact, you can double, triple, quadruple, infinitely multiply your impact as a vegan by helping others be more receptive to the messaging, right? And it's, at one end, I view Thanksgiving and the holidays as, almost an easy outlet to be frustrated. And I completely get that. But at the same time, try rethinking that in terms of, wow, like this is a great opportunity for me to bring 2 or 3 of my bomb vegan dishes that I've mastered and bring it to people in a setting where it's all about sharing food. So, Thanksgiving and the other holidays, they present this unique opportunity for us to share vegan food with people when otherwise they may not be receptive to in typical settings, but because all your friends and family are together and everyone's sharing food in this like unique experience, like, okay, well, I'm gonna bring my my vegan stuffing, my vegan mashed potatoes, my vegan cornbread, and my vegan buffalo cauliflower wings, and all of a sudden people are looking at this and like, well, okay, well, half the dishes that we normally make, Keith is making this year, and he's veganized all of them, and oh my God, they're delicious. Wow, like what an amazing opportunity we have as vegans to expose people to food that they may not otherwise, be as receptive to trying.
Yeah. Such a good point. I love that you said what an amazing opportunity. And for some reason, while you said that, I imagined that being like written on a blackboard where I could see every day just the words, what an amazing opportunity. Because, sometimes I could wake up and just be like, oh, I just don't feel like being the odd one out today. I just don't feel like fighting for this or that. But like, if I then switch my perspective and look at the words, what an amazing opportunity, it turns all that on its head. When I used to give workshops with Marianne, I would get nervous sometimes before going up, and she would say, it's not about you, it's about the animals, you're invisible. And, she has her particular charming sort of straightforward way of communicating like that, but it was true. And so if we think about what an amazing opportunity for the animals, and we just decide right now that from now until the end of the year, we're all going to look at all of these circumstances as an amazing opportunity, it could change our experience of the holidays, while also, of course, finding and fostering safe spaces where we don't have to advocate. We can just basically be. So I am so excited about everything you're doing. And I just, can you reiterate one more time the website and any other way that people could get in touch with you and with the program?
Yeah. So anyone who's listening, if you're interested, and like Jasmine said, I really, really encourage and challenge you to take advantage of this unique opportunity within our movement to help new vegans to get involved in a form of activism that is entirely positive for both you and the new vegan. And you can do that by just visiting our website. It's PETA.org/vegan mentor. And at the bottom of the page, there's a little blurb of where you can contact us. And then you'll actually be connected to me directly. And, we'll kind of move forward from there and kind of help you get involved, because it really is exciting, rewarding stuff. I mean, I've mentored well over 1,200 people at this point, and the positivity that I have and the growth that I have experienced as not only as a vegan, but just as a human, has just been tremendously beneficial. And it's just, it feels really good to be able to help people and to be able to share that knowledge to people that actually want the information. What a concept, right? So, it's powerful stuff. So I definitely encourage people to reach out to us.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Keith. I couldn't be happier with my New Jersey brother here. And I'm just really excited about this program. So keep in touch. Let us know, if we can help in any way, because, I think our Hen House listeners tend to be particularly brilliant and good at communicating, especially I'm obviously, I look at the Our Hen House Flock Facebook page. That's for our core Flock members, our supporters. And the conversations that go on are just so enlightening and compassionate and smart and challenging. And so if you're listening to this, become a mentor. So thanks again for joining us today, Keith. And I look forward to following the efforts that you are doing out there on behalf of animals.
Well, thank you so much, Jasmine, and likewise, keep up the great work. Our Hen House is such a phenomenal resource, and I wish you the best of luck and continued success with everything that your team is doing.
That was Keith Burgeson. And let us know if you wind up taking part in this. Tweet at us at Our Hen House. I'm super curious how the experience is for you. And by the way, you could find out more about my book, Always Too Much and Never Enough, over at jasminesinger.com. No E on Jasmine, JasminSinger. And at that website, you'll also be able to see that I have a bunch of speaking engagements coming up. On December 3rd, I will be the special speaker at the Factory Farming Awareness Coalition's Gala in San Francisco at the Google Space. So of all of the speaking engagements I have coming up, that's the one I hope that you join. So check out jasminesinger.com, click on events, support FFAC. They're an incredible organization, and I'm really looking forward to that. And if you are a Flock member and you'll be there, or if you're a listener and you'll be there, definitely say hello to me. I also want to say that if you don't have my book yet, Always Too Much and Never Enough, I'm currently offering it a signed copy for $20 if you email me at jasminesinger@gmail.com. Again, there's no E on Jasmine, just JasminSinger@gmail.com. I will send a signed copy to you if you PayPal me $20. So looking forward to hearing from you regarding that as well. And find me personally across social media at Jasmine Singer. And on Twitter, it's Jasmine_Singer. And on Instagram, it's Jasmine Singer Author. Thanks again to my guest, Keith. I'm going to hand this back over to Marianne Sullivan. This episode is brought to you through the generosity of Dr. Bronner's. Dr. Bronner's is a family business committed to making socially and environmentally responsible products of the highest quality and dedicating profits to help make a better world. Dr. Bronner's donates over $500,000 every year to support animal rights organizations and causes. More information about Dr. Bronner's and their vegan fair trade products can be found at drbronner.com. And by the way, I love Dr. Bronner, and it's all I use, and I love what they stand for. Thanks, Dr. Bronner's.
Anxieties are rising. Vegan diet warning. Beware this unexpected side effect of suddenly ditching meat and dairy. Very, very scary stuff. This is from the UK, from the Express. And apparently, if you go vegan, your hair's going to fall out. I bet you didn't know that. What? They do go on, like, towards the end of the article to say you should also watch your B12, which is true. But, like, according to this, like, the sudden loss of protein is going to make your hair fall out. This is a totally new one. Of course, it's a totally nonsensical one, too. In the first place, it's easy to get plenty of we get more protein than we need. It's not going to make your hair fall out. Like if you got no protein for a long time, maybe it would cause your hair to fall out. Oh my God. The person who is cited for this is Cassandra Barnes, nutritionist. That's exactly how she's described. And she says protein is an important nutrient for healthy hair. And she references keratin, which is that stuff that they put in hair products that comes from sheep or some ridiculous thing. I've never heard before that you were supposed to eat keratin. Oh my God, they're so ridiculous. All right, talking about ridiculous. This is a commentary from Hoosier Ag Today, you can imagine. And that's not Who's Your Ag, it's Hoosier, as in Indiana. Hoosier Ag. Commentary, The Doggy in the Window Isn't for Sale Anymore. This is by one Gary Truitt. And he's referencing Patti Page's hit song from 1952, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? I think we all might know that song, but maybe I am dating myself once again. And he's really upset about this law in California, making it the first statewide ban the sale of commercially bred pets. And he's upset. And, he sees the writing on the wall. And God, I hope he's right. God, I hope he's right. I hope this guy is brilliant. He points out that the supporters of the law say they are justified because dogs that come from, quote, puppy mills are, quote, abused and raised in, quote, unhealthy conditions. And yeah, that's true. I mean, I assume by putting it in quotes, he means to imply that it's not true. I'm just guessing at that, but it seems to be the implication. But then this is where he's really upset, that he's pointing out that the same arguments are used when you raise animals for food. Animals raised on, quote, factory farms are, quote, abused and live in, quote, unhealthy conditions. Yeah, I mean, it's all true. That's the problem. That's the problem that you have, folks. It's all true. And then he says, my favorite line I've ever read in an article, puppies today, pigs tomorrow. God, don't you just hope he's right? And he talks about how there's been science that's been put into crafting standards for dog breeding operations to counter all this emotionality that surrounds dogs. And then he points out that in 2009, Patti Page actually did a PSA against puppy mills, and based on her song, and he's real upset. And as he points out, how long will it be before people feel the same way about the meat they eat? That is what the animal activists are counting on. Yes, you have it exactly right. This is brilliant reporting and hopefully very prescient. Let's just hope so. All right, my final article for this week's Rising Anxieties is from SanFranciscoGate.com, though the story was in Philadelphia, but this is the article I have here to tell you about. Meatball contest allegedly leads to death threats over chef's vegan entry. And as you know, I usually like to discount the idea of death threats because usually usually it's, the animal abusers of one sort or another who are claiming they got death threats. This time it's a chef who, I don't know whether she's vegan herself, but she entered a vegan entry in a meatball contest in Philadelphia. And even if, I don't know whether she got death threats or not, but she says she doesn't. I actually don't see why she would lie about it, because that's so bizarre. But even if she didn't get actual death threats, or even if they were obviously false, why did she get any kind of criticism at all? Why can't she? They're so afraid. They're so afraid that vegan food is going to be better than their meat. And she definitely got a lot of viciousness, because that was actually recorded, and one of the judges apparently bore witness to vicious vegan meatball hate, and there are things like, it's not a fucking vegan competition. And, one of the judges said he had an open mind about it. Apparently her entry was not even a fake meat kind of thing. It was a very traditional dish called pannelle, which is a Sicilian chickpea street food that's, in the form of meatballs, and was used, when meat was a very expensive item, and people that, what's wrong with this? What are they so afraid of that everybody was furious? And then rumors circulated that she had won. Unfortunately, she didn't. She probably should have, but she didn't. And people were even more furious. They were outraged. What are they? If people like vegan meatballs better than, what's their problem? They're so afraid. The fact is that their anxieties are rising. And that's it for this week's proof of that very fact.
Please like us. Check us out on social media and follow, do whatever you need to do to keep us on your radar. On Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, we are at Our Hen House, all one word. Also, you can find us online at ourhenhouse.org. And if you want to get in touch with us, or if you have any questions, or if you have any quandaries that you want us to consider addressing on the air, you can email us at info@ourhenhouse.org.
That's it for this week's show. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please support it. You can leave a good review on iTunes, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, shop on Amazon using the Amazon Smile, using Our Hen House as your favorite charity. Best of all, of course, and especially now, you can help support us financially by joining our flock at ourhenhouse.org/donate, and of course, any donation you make of any kind between now and the end of the year will be doubled. And if you're one of our listeners who already support us, thank you so much. And thank you to my co-hosts, Jasmine Singer, to Michael Harron and John Frusciante for their work in producing the podcast. And we'll be back next week with a brand new show. Don't forget to subscribe in iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. And in the meantime, keep doing whatever it is that you do to change the world for animals, because you are all that they've got.